Hi Spartans! So today's assignment, we're going to be looking at 3 different things. The first one is positive and negative space, second is balance, and third is Notan Design. First, positive and negative space. So positive space is usually the object or the focus of the art piece. It's usually taking up the most room. So I know you've probably heard about face versus vase. It's an art piece that has a vase, but it also has 2 different faces. So in the sense of if you're looking at that art piece and you see a vase, so it's all decorative, it looks nice, and then everything in the background is pushed backwards. So the vase is the main focus. The vase is the positive space, and everything behind it, the faces, are the negative space. So negative space is always the space around it, or anything else that's not in focus. So the background, the foreground, the midground, things like that are in the background or behind the object. So they're not in focus and you're not paying attention to them. That's negative space. Typically, so let's take the face versus vase again. Let's say instead of a vase, you see 2 faces looking at each other. Okay, so the faces are the positive space because you see them and that's what you're identifying as the thing that's important in this piece. Okay, they're the most important. So the faces are the positive. That means this space in the middle, that's negative space because you're not using it anymore. And it would be easier with this colored. So if this was like 2 colored faces in, and then the space in the middle is white or purple, whatever color you want to have it, that color is the negative space. All right, the second thing is balance. So I know a lot of you have probably heard the seesaw kind of technique to explain balance. You have a seesaw, you put 2 things that are equal weight on top of the seesaw, and it stays right in the middle. But if you add more weight to one side, it goes down and the other side goes up. And then same, if you add more weight to the other side, it switches, okay, until it's equal again. Okay, that's the same idea with using scales. You're going to put more weight on one side, it's going to go up. More weight on the other side, it's going to go down. All right. So art is very similar to that idea, except it might be a little bit harder to see balance because it's usually objects or something drawn or something colored. Even color can make a balance. So what I want you guys to think of is there's 2 different types of balance. Okay, there is symmetrical and asymmetrical. Symmetrical is thinking of 2 things that are the exact same. So think of a face. Okay, 2 eyes, cut right down the middle. I can fold that paper in half and it'll be exactly the same. Let's say my guy's not very happy, okay? I can still fold my paper in half and it's exactly the same. Even I can make a nose, still exactly the same. And then ears. So that is a symmetrical balance. All right. Asymmetrical is we're going to take the same concept. We're going to make a face, except maybe they have one eye bigger than the other. Okay. Maybe they have one ear bigger than the other. All right. So even though it's different, it's still balanced because this eye is big and this ear is big. So it's making it weigh the same. Another way you can look at it is let's have a normal face. Just like our first guy. Normal face. But instead, we want to add a balloon to this side. Well, now it's unbalanced because something's weighing one side too much. So this side is going down while this side is being shot up into the air. So we need to add something to this side. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the same thing like this. All right? Just because there's 2 eyes doesn't mean that's the same. Okay, so I don't need to draw another balloon right here. What I can do is maybe I have a pet, I don't know, rat in the corner. So I have a balloon and a rat. And so that is creating that balance that we need even though they're different. So that's considered asymmetrical, but it's still balanced because it's still weighing the same. Understand? So if I didn't have something here, that's not balanced. Now that I have two things balanced, symmetrical, asymmetrical. Now, to really grasp the understanding of balance and positive and negative space, we're going to do a project called Notan's Design. Now, Notan's Design is a Japanese art style, creating an image based off 50% light and 50% dark, creating that balance. So when you think of Notan's Design, think of the yin-yang. You have a circle, then you have the fish, and so one side is colored dark and the other side is light. So that's 50-50, right? Then we add that light circle on one side. Now it's unbalanced. So we have to add that dark circle on the other side, creating that balance again. So it's 50-50, 50% light, 50% dark, positive and negative. So it's focusing on positive and negatives and light and dark, working in harmony and in peace. So you're going to create your own Notan design. You're actually going to create two of them. You're going to create a symmetric one and an asymmetrical one. All right? So you're doing two different projects under the same kind of umbrella of ideas. I want you to be able to see that even though you're doing symmetric, which is the exact copy, it makes 50-50 because it's an exact copy. But I also want you to see that asymmetrical, even though it's not an exact copy, you are still having 50% of one color paper and then 50% of the other color paper, still creating that balanced atmosphere. You get to pick your own 6 symbols that you get to use, all right? You also get to pick the color you want to use. You don't have to do it black and white if you don't want to. But I did it black and white because that's traditional. You can pick any color that you want. All right, let's jump right in this. What you need are 3 pieces of sketchbook paper, scissors, a marker, a glue stick, and a pen or pencil. Now, we're going to take our sketchbook, one of our 3 pieces of paper, and we are going to rip it out, fold it in half, and then we are going to color it in after we have a square. Now, if you have colored paper, use your colored paper. Okay? If you do not have colored paper, then this is what you're going to do. Like I said, you're going to rip it out, you are going to cut your paper in half, and then we're going to make it a perfect square. Now, how do we make it a perfect square? We're going to take one of our edges, fold it down to make a triangle, and then we're going to cut off that remaining edge right there. So that extra flap, we're going to cut that off, and then we should have a perfect square to do our assignment. And then after we have our perfect square, we're going to color it in with our marker. So it can be any color, like I said, or you can use color paper. The most important thing is if you are coloring it, instead of using color paper, please color the whole thing. I don't want to see any white spots. Okay? I want the whole thing colored. I'm going to start with the symmetrical Notan design. So I'm drawing my symbol, and then I am going to fold my paper in half and cut out my symbol. We're cutting it out and folding our paper in half because we want it to be the same on both sides, making it a balanced, symmetrical piece. Please keep track of all the pieces you cut out because we're going to use them at the end. Now I'm going to continue to draw all 6 of my designs, and then I will continue to fold my paper and then cut them out. Now, I'm going to glue down that main square that I created. So I'm going to glue it down, And then all of my pieces that I cut out are going to do a mirror effect to where I cut it out. So how my arrows are pointed towards each other, the pieces that I cut out are now going to point away from each other. I'm going in and fixing all the little white spots so you can kind of see my edges better. So see, I am reflecting that arrow onto the other side. So now I have a black arrow on white paper and I have a white arrow on black paper. And I'm doing that for all of my pieces. Everything is getting reflected. And that is my symmetrical Notan design. Now we're gonna move on to our asymmetrical one. So I already made my paper just to save time, and now I'm gonna draw my shapes. So remember, asymmetrical means they're different on every side. So you are not gonna fold your paper in half to cut it. You're gonna draw all of your symbols, and then you are going to cut each symbol out. Alright, I am gluing down my main piece because I already finished my 6 items. So I'm gluing it down, and then I'm going to reflect those colors I cut out onto the white paper. So my paper is going to be 50% white around it with 50% markings on it, and then it's going to be 50% black with 50% white markings in the middle. Now, I know mine only has 4, but yours is going to have 6. I would make sure that all of your symbols are going to fit on the page before you start cutting and gluing them down. Now, here are some examples of some Notan designs. Be creative and come up with some really cool reflective designs. You get extra points for creativity. I'm available online on Google Meets if you need help with this project at all. I know I gave you a lot of information, but always reach out if you need some help.